the usual standard message that'll come up and freak us all out about recording and whatnot, but that should be us going. Okay, so yeah, I promised to do a wee bit of an update on Circular Tayside, and you will have noticed that the summer was a bit quiet. So Vaso finished up with us earlier on in the year and went back to Greece, and we miss her lots, but we have got some newbies on the block. So in Dundee and Angus Chamber, we've got Amber and Austin with us now, and in Perthshire Chamber there's Ellie and a number of other people, Sunny and some others that are working with Vicky to promote what Circular Tayside does up in Perthshire and continue to bang the drum. So there's a number of us continuing to work on Circular Tayside, and we're in the middle of just talking to Zero Waste Scotland about what the future of Circular Tayside looks like and what our legacy is and what happens next. So Cheryl, you've kept your video on. I'm very impressed. You didn't flinch at all there when I talked about Zero Waste Scotland in the future. So, but thank you for coming in. I do really appreciate it. So Circular Tayside over the summertime has been looking at the charter and kind of getting the charter moving again. And with a bit of a drum roll, we got that launched the first week of COP26. And we've already got our first application, which is brilliant. So most of you hopefully will remember when we were talking about the charter and we were actually asking all you guys for feedback on the different levels of it and how it would actually work in practice, so that businesses wouldn't feel like it was overly complicated, but would feel that it was enough of a stretch so that it didn't feel like it was too easy. And so it's more or less gone out just exactly the same as we got feedback from all of you about. So it's still got two kind of mandatory sections, which are about policies and people, really, and making sure that you've got that inside your business, and I guess those principles are in place. And then the other electives really depend on the type of business you are, whether you're a service business, whether you're manufacturing and it's about a product line, if it's about an office, and so there should be two electives for you to fill in that make sense for your business. But if you get the chance to have a look at it and you're thinking that actually this is a bit more complicated than you thought, or it doesn't quite flow in the way that you thought it might, then please give us a shout. What we've done is when Vaso was working on that, the kind of the baseline measure for a business to sort of identify its carbon footprint in order to demonstrate any change, we were looking at the Circulytics tool from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And when we were nearly ready to launch, it was closed for applications. However, it has now reopened, but it is a pretty deep and kind of almost difficult thing. It's quite a complicated thing to kind of push your business through. So we're definitely still recommending that people have a look at that, but we have got some alternatives for businesses and organisations to kind of do that first stage. So there's a couple of local organisations, MDG Group, who are with us today. One of the options for getting support to do that baseline, if you've not already got support or you haven't already done it, I know that probably a number of you have done that because you've been looking at it for funding or other kind of mechanisms. But if you are looking for support with that, then within the guidelines for the charter, there's a few different links to help you, kind of have a look at that. Please give us a shout if you're struggling. I think we also talked as a group, and I think it was probably this time last year actually, about how if you guys are interested in actually working through the charter and creating a plan to kind of evolve through the different steps of the charter, how do you get a bit of support? So we were talking to Dundee University and some others about getting interns or student placements to come in and support with that. So that's definitely still an option. And the other option that we'd be keen to explore with any of you that are interested is the Kickstart funding. So both the chambers are Kickstart Gateway organisations. So we could help you get a 6-month, 25 hours a week paid placement for helping kind of work through the charter, work through the ramifications of that. If as you kind of go through the charter, you identify a plan for needing to look at your waste streams, or needing to educate staff, or needing to talk to suppliers, and it would be useful to have a resource for that. So I kind of see this as, and I'd be interested in kind of hearing your feedback on this. Our thoughts were that certainly in our neck of the woods with our chamber, we would be the employer, and would kind of look after a group of individuals who are almost working with you guys maybe at the same pace, or can learn from each other. And then all you've got to do is host them and make sure that what they're doing is actually creating your individual plan, but that we would support them with the IT side of things and the employment side of things. So we would pay them, we would kind of look after them, but they would be your resource. So and I think as somebody's put in the chat, we have to, so we already have scope to kind of work with that, and we just need to get them fully in place during the first quarter of next year. So you could have somebody sooner if we could get somebody. So Kickstart is aimed at getting young people who are on universal credit below the age of 24 into a 6-month paid placement. So, please let us know. Come off mute and let me know if you think that sounds sensible, if you think that sounds ridiculous, or just your thoughts on that. And if you don't want to kind of say now, then that's fine. Give us a shout, afterwards, as that's, you kind of get the thought process going through. But in terms of timescales, if we can get people started with those roles by the middle of March, then you would have 6 months of that resource to kind of help you with sustainability and internal processes and policies and procedures. So yeah, just a thought that we talked to Zero Waste Scotland about as part of the kind of ongoing work that we would do with them. Somebody has their hand up. Come in, and Kirstine, hi.
Hello, Alison. Hope you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, because the internet's a bit dodgy here today. Quick question around the Kickstart. So I haven't seen the charter documentation yet, so I don't know how academically challenging it is. My understanding of the Kickstart was it was for people who maybe haven't had an opportunity of coming into the workplace, or maybe lack experience or opportunities. I just wondered, is it a realistic task that they would be able to complete the process of working through the charter, given that some of them maybe have never experienced any employment at all?
Yeah, I think that is a very good point, a very valid one, Kirstine, because we've had, since the beginning of March, we've had some Kickstart young people in our business, and some have been, would have been able to kind of take this kind of a thing on, and others would have found it a bit more difficult. So I think if I guess I almost see it as a kind of a cohort that we're looking at after, that support each other. But yeah, I think it depends how straightforward your kind of charter program is going to be. The one that we've had in is from a zero waste shop, so they're already quite I guess advanced in what they've got in place, but they do still have some things to do. And I think that young person then would possibly need a bit less support. But yeah, I do think that is a very valid, it's not, we won't get somebody that can come in and kind of write a very advanced project plan. But on the other hand, we've got some people within our team that have come out of university and are just needing some work experience. So they've got really good organisational skills, and their IT skills are really great, but they just might need a bit of support. From us, and then also, to be able to work for you guys as the support, or the employer, really, the support.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else involved with anybody that's been on Kickstart placements, or kind of anything else you just wanted to share?
It's Scott from Angus Cycle Hub. Yeah, so we're currently involved with Kickstart. So we've currently got 4 placements through Kickstart at the moment, through both projects in Dundee and our growth. So actually just speaking to just DWP in Dundee this morning with regards to this. So yes, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Kickstart's going to be running again next year, from the next financial year. So from what I understand, speaking to her this morning, anything that anyone that wanted to put in stuff has to be in for the start of December. As long as the application's in, then you can start them anytime up until the start of the next financial year at the moment. We've had a mixed bag, I'd say, in terms of kind of the folk that are coming through the scheme. It tends to be they need quite a lot of additional support, and I think the struggle that we've had is there probably are people there that are coming fresh out of university, but obviously you need to be on universal credit, and so that's obviously one of the big things, which is a barrier for a lot of people to actually get Kickstart, be able to go on the Kickstart scheme. The other option is, I was actually just speaking to someone this morning, is ERI, which is in Dundee, which is it's a completely new scheme I'm not familiar with, which is apparently, I don't know if someone else on the call knows anything about, but again, this is through the Dundee employability team or something, which is, I think, is going to be something which will take over from Kickstart. I don't know if anyone else knows anything else.
Yeah, that's the sort of Scottish government equivalent of Kickstart, but it's around every year, and it doesn't normally have a lot of cash behind it, but I think Scottish government have put extra money into it this year, and it's also tied into, so the other option is young persons guarantee funding, which both the council, well, all of the councils will have. So I know that Angus Council, each of the councils are doing something slightly different with their young person guarantee funding, but it's certainly there to kind of support. So yeah, we can, and we have actually got some prior roles already sitting with the approval, just waiting to go into DWP. So you're absolutely right to say that sometimes, we're beginning to see DWP put through candidates that do need quite a bit of support. But what we were thinking is if there was enough interest in this, then we would probably do a public recruitment call and just then encourage everybody that might be on universal credit to kind of come forward for it, and trying to encourage young people into sustainability roles in businesses for 6 months. We hope would be quite interesting. So yeah, you could just let us know what you think about that, and we can see about taking that forward for anybody that's keen.
Alison, I've got a quick question. Is see the Kickstart, we've obviously got, I think, four vacancies that's currently been advertised, but I was under the impression that you can actually, as long as they're on universal credit, you can take on people without going through the DWP. Is that correct, or is that?
Well, strictly speaking, no. Strictly speaking, they have to advertise the vacancies to their young people, and then the work coaches then put people forward for them. But we are seeing some that are not getting quite as many referrals as they might like. So we know other people have gone externally and kind of promoted their vacancies. I didn't see you that come in. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I was wondering that if it's some specific skill set that you need, if we can go to the universities and say, we are looking for someone who's got a degree in environmental science or something like that, they're on universal credit. If that's possible, and through the Kickstart program, then you don't have to go through to WTD.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, so please have a look at the charter. Please give us any feedback that you've got on it, and if we can support anything, or if there's anything actually that we've missed that needs a bit of tweaking, then we'll certainly do that. But it would be great to see a few people get through and actually get awarded charter status, because we're talking to the local authorities and others about how does this kind of play through in terms of procurement. How can we encourage larger businesses to kind of recognise that charter as something that that gives you a bit of a stamp of approval for sustainability, credibility and whatnot. So yeah, we'll be interested in your feedback and just helping people through it, helping you all through it as much as possible. So that would be great. Talking about COP26 and all things net zero, I'd maybe just take a minute to pick on a couple of people to share what they did. And I mean, that question of what next, you know, how is all that drama of that 2 weeks with an incredible spotlight on Scotland and Glasgow and the kind of the Glasgow Agreement, which is I guess, you know, you guys live and breathe this all the time, and I think, you know, you know that I will say this quite often, that I'm really not an expert on the level of kind of circular economy and sustainability that many of you are. So, you know, I'm not sure if I knew what to expect when COP came to town, and then actually it was pretty incredible, the amount of things that we could have all gone to or kind of participated online was just amazing. So yeah, really keen to kind of hear your thoughts. So I've got a couple of willing victims in Lorraine first, and then Colin, if that's all right. So Lorraine Lemon, do you want to kind of introduce yourself and just tell us a wee bit about what went on in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, sure. So Lorraine Lemon, I'm head of business and operations at Dundee Science Centre. And I know that some of you on the call actually attended the Carbon Battle Bus tour. So we were one of the stop-off points. And basically, I'm not sure if anybody knows what this was, but it was to raise awareness of COP26. So this electric bus basically traveled the entire country just to raise awareness of COP26 and climate change and sustainability and all these kinds of things. So they've visited various different cities over the past couple of months. And the thing that was really surprising for me is we had the event in the Science Centre, and they were saying of all the cities and all of the towns that they've visited, they were really surprised at how connected Dundee was. So mostly they've only had business representation at their events, whereas in Dundee we had a lot of communities, we had third sector, we had business, we had just individuals, and they couldn't believe how connected we were with all these different audiences and, you know, just academia and everybody together. So that was really pleasing to actually see. So as a city, I think we need to give ourselves a wee pat on the back, because we seem to be a lot further ahead than, we've still got a long way to go, but at least we talk to each other, whereas other people don't seem to do that. So yeah, so really, really good. I also was lucky enough to be invited to an event in the green zone. And yeah, it was amazing. There definitely seems to be a big shift in corporate responsibility and how businesses seem to be taking it more seriously. So even in terms of, you know, one of the big sponsors, Sainsbury's, they do have a responsibility. Your packaging needs to change. And I think the big difference is businesses are really stepping forward and saying, right, we're going to make these changes. It's not just the consumers. Obviously, they're being pressured by consumers, but yeah, so big difference there. And just, you know, the circular economy, it was just, you know, I don't know if anybody else attended, but all of the furniture was sponsored by IKEA, and it's all recycled, and, you know, it's going in, being donated to houses. So it was just really interesting to see just even the events itself, how they were setting those up. And yet, just from our Carbon Battle Bus, we've had Scott, who's on the call here, you know, we actually connected about, you know, a joint program of sharing our electric van and how we do things like that. So yeah, it was just really good for us to kind of make these connections and just hear more about what other people are doing within the city. Sorry, I don't know if that gives you a little rundown of everything.
Definitely. And what about that what next thing for you in the Science Centre?
Yeah, so we will be going for the charter. So that's the next stage for us. And I think it's just building on all of the work that we've already done within the operational side. So just solidifying. So the next thing we need to do is replace our boilers. So that's the next big investment we need to make. We've done the solar panels, we need to do that. Again, staff training, just visitor awareness. You know, we've got lots of recycling bins, people don't use them, you know, so it's just going back and just constantly trying new things, new methods. That signage didn't work, we'll try something else. And again, looking at our programs and our audiences and our exhibits, making sure that we've got programs that are informative, educational, factual, fun at the same time, because we don't want to make this, you know, boring. And just there's so much different language and lingo, and it's breaking that down. What does it actually mean? So yeah, even for us, going through the charter will be hugely beneficial for our team. And I think it's you know, lots of funding pots are gonna, so I hear, you will need sustainability goals and criteria. So I think the quicker we all jump on board with this, the easier it'll be, because it'll come in at some point.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Colin?
Yeah, okay. Well, I agree with what Lorraine's saying, and I think up in Scotland and Dundee in particular, I think we can be quite proud of ourselves. We're doing a lot of really good stuff. Can't rest on the laurels, so there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of great things happening. So, yeah, Colin Arnold, Business Development Manager at MSIP, and again, my background before I joined MSIP was in lithium battery and cell manufacturing. So yeah, the big event for us in COP26, we held a 2-day event in two of our big warehouse facilities, 20,000 square meters of space. I think some of the people on the call were at the event, so it was really good. It was a lot of hard work from my colleagues. Again, we were given kind of permission to hold this event outside Glasgow from the UK government organiser, so we're very lucky to get that go ahead. So yeah, a lot of work went into it, and again, restricted in numbers in COVID, but I think the feedback we're getting, even as we're getting into this new week, is like a very good event. A lot of businesses, a lot of business to business connections, a lot of cross-fertilization ideas, some really good speakers. And again, it just says that there's some brilliant, green technology companies out there that are doing a lot of really good work. In terms of the circular economy aspects of it, again, made some good contacts last week. Actually, there's a few more companies getting involved in that space. Our particular interest in MSIP is circular economy on an industrial scale. So, one of the big hot topics just now, UK government and Scottish government, is batteries. We're all going to be driving around in EVs soon. There's going to be huge, massive scrapyards piled high with Nissan Leaf batteries, and we haven't really got a solution what we're going to do with it. It's been an issue for quite a few years. I think we're now realising that, and there was discussion during the COP26 conferences that the tipping point's now reached, and it's not just going to be 1% of cars are EVs. It's going to be 10, 20%, 30%, and by 2030, there's going to be literally millions of batteries. So, and again, the same issue is going to apply to other technologies, like, for instance, fuel cells, hydrogen fuel cells. But the battery technology is here and it's mature. So some of the things we're looking at, there's two aspects of it. It's the collection of it, because they're dangerous, how we dispose of them, and again, the circular economy. I mean, the current system in the UK for disposal of battery packs is there's companies there that will collect it and they'll charge you a fortune for it because they're dangerous goods. They might dismantle it and then they're kind of shipping it across the continent. We haven't got any facilities in the UK to dismantle the cells, let alone extract the material out of it. So you tend to find that it gets shipped. So there's a carbon footprint of shipping these dangerous goods around the country and across into Europe and around Europe. So there's a big drive now to get that circular economy based here in Scotland. So, there's a lot of companies looking at, well, how we do it, and then just setting up, the logistics of doing it. So to give you an example, and I spoke to Alison about this in the past, is that we have a couple of inquiries, for one of our large facilities to put an industrial scale recycling plant for lithium cells.
I just wondered if there's anything.
Sorry. No. Okay. Yes. So two aspects of that. So it's keeping it. It's like having a collection service for taking all the batteries, keeping it in Scotland. Potentially Dundee could be a major centre of getting the actual cells. You take all the other electronics out of the battery pack, and then you'd have the actual cells. They'll be stripped down. You'd extract the simple stuff like the copper and aluminium out of it, which is kind of, there's technology out there that does that. So you're getting 60% circular economy. And we're currently looking at methods to try and extract the actual, what they call it, kind of black mass. So that's all your chemicals and stuff. Now, normally that gets incinerated, and normally it's incinerated outside the UK. And it's looking at methods that we can basically return that black mass back to raw materials and feed it back in the supply chain. So that's good for circular economy. Again, that's what everybody's been talking about, whether it's furniture, batteries, or hydrogen fuel cells. But the other aspect of it is that, again, if we're all going to be, putting battery systems into heavy vehicles and cars and energy storage, there's a big pressure on supply chain. So again, both governments are looking seriously at how a circular economy can actually help the supply chain as well. So. And again, that helps the carbon footprint because you're not transporting raw materials from the Far East. So there's a few. I mean, that's probably the kind of the biggest kind of activity we're doing. Again, it's very exciting for us because if we manage to land this in Dundee, this operation could create a lot of jobs as well. So as well as a circular economy, as well as solving a big problem, as well as reducing carbon footprint of giving all a little bit like the plastic bottle, sending it offshore. It can create a lot of highly skilled jobs in the local economy too. So, MSIP, we're obviously looking at manufacture innovation, but we're also looking at being a major centre for industrial circular economy too. So, yeah, there's a lot more detail in that, obviously, but that gives you an idea of what we're actually currently doing.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think, I mean, we know a bit of what's going on at MSIP just because we're kind of around, or I see some of what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? The getting the stories of what some of your tenants or prospective tenants are looking to do. It's hugely exciting. And the event, well, I mean, Circular Tayside exhibited at the event. We had a brilliant couple of days, and it was great to see some of the kind of shining stars from the local area being able to demonstrate what they do, because there were so many visitors there from outside the region as well, weren't there? So yeah, it was a huge amount of work.
Yeah, and it was good as well, because I think this particular one, we had a mixture of startup companies who run an accelerator program. So we've run 19 companies through now, obviously all involved in green technology. So I think about at least half of them were some of them did a pitch, some of them are presenting, and they were sitting alongside some of some large companies and some more established companies. So I got the sense, well, people I'm speaking to saying that was an excellent, because they're they're seeing business opportunities from themselves, but even just learning from each other, because everybody's doing something new here. It's all new. We've not really done any of this stuff before, so yeah, we're still getting feedback that it was a lot of very good connections. So we need to run more of these events in the future, not just during the COP, the COP conferences.
Definitely, thank you. So I've got one more person that's going to kind of come in and talk, but then anybody else that wants to, really interested in just hearing what your thoughts are on COP26 and how actually it might have changed what you're doing, or just how has it influenced your thinking more in general. But Cheryl, do you want to maybe just come in and just give us a bit of a flavour of, I bet Zero Waste Scotland had a busy fortnight. Well, you had big events even in the run up to it, didn't you? So tell us a wee bit more.
Yeah, it was busy. Well, I think it was busiest for our chief exec and some of our directors. I got out to a couple of things, but I didn't get to the green zone or anything as exciting as that. So, but yeah, we ended up, we had ran an event last month because we knew it was going to be busy. Our main message really was about consumption and making sure that consumption was part of the conversation and how we bring it into that net zero agenda. So we're talking a lot about research that we just published again in the run up to COP. So this was all part of the kind of plan, if you like, that we had that evidence to illustrate the levels of consumption in Scotland and how that's unsustainable, and then move the conversation on to how, if we tackle our consumption, then we can tackle climate change. So there was a lot of reports and evidence and videos and just showcasing that it was done. So my colleague Leslie's actually put one of our reports in the chat there. Just Colin was talking about batteries. So we released that report. It shows like battery waste will triple in the next 25 years, which is a phenomenal number. We report on steel, on onshore wind. We launched a video about decoupling growth and what green growth really means. So there's a video on that, and it can share the link to that. We've got some videos on our cities and regions activity. Alison's starring in one of them, which was great, just to illustrate the breadth of that and start to think about that what comes next piece as well. We had multiple events on food waste. We launched another report that was kind of city focused in Glasgow, but we're using the learnings from that to work across the country. I know I was at an event around financing, which was not my favourite topic, but anyway. So I think in terms of what's next and the legacy, it's just continuing to build on that and just keep ramping up that message. We had some really good conversations. It was great actually to be out and about at some events and actually meet people in real life, because it's a very different experience, and just keep making those connections. And yeah, 4/5 of Scotland's carbon footprint is all the stuff that we use and consume. So we just, I think we'll take a bit of time and reflect, and just those new connections, try and build on them, but just keep hammering that message home. And you need to see what comes out of the actual concrete decisions that were made, because consumption wasn't mentioned in those, but we'll just keep trying to join up the dots between that and our impact on climate.
Brilliant, thank you. I know as a team, as a small team, Amber and Austin and I were talking about it, because Austin got the chance to kind of watch some of and kind of participate in some of the things, and I was just really quite busy. And although I was invited to a couple of things, I chose not to go in the end, because some of the costs of staying overnight, it was more the stories than anything, was pretty kind of difficult. And then I was so busy that, to get over and then come back for another couple of days and then get back over, just logistically, it was a bit difficult. And I think I did hear that from a couple of people, but I know lots of people that participated. And so, I think it was only right that there was online content that you could then kind of get engaged with it and whatnot. But some significant brands with significant amounts of investment in the conference in general, which is interesting. I'm going to get this stat wrong, so I'm going to quote Austin wrong. But we were talking about that there's something like a stat talks about 1 in 5 women are engaged in net zero and circular economy in some way, but yet have very little impact on actually moving the dial when it comes to organisations changing their behaviour, which I think is quite interesting. We're going to look into that further and see what we can't do about finding that and testing it on a local basis. I think that would be interesting. But there was just some kind of real interesting things. Robert is sending me a couple of messages, and I don't want to come on and kind of talk about some of your observations. Does anybody else want to put their hand up and unmute and come in? Everybody's very shy.
I'll say a little bit.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I was just going to echo what Colin was saying there. And first of all, I'd like to thank Colin and the team down at MSIP, because they put on a wonderful event there. And the feedback we were getting, was we are really leading the way in Dundee, for this being very connected and sharing experiences and using businesses, as a group consortiums to deliver real good, zero waste solutions. And we were lucky enough, to put a battery system. We build storage battery systems, and we were lucky enough to put a battery system into MSIP, and we powered half the exhibition centre with free energy, if you like, during the day, so that the event itself was off grid. Now that was a major achievement, for Dundee. And although we tried to demonstrate and tell everyone, I think as a city and even as a nation of Scotland, we should be telling the world that's possible to do. I don't think that we are educated enough into the actual systems that are available to get us down to net zero. Now, in terms of car batteries, our static storage systems can utilise used car batteries, with a little, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of R&D would go into it, to be honest. But we are looking at that. The problem we've got is our static storage systems currently come with a 10-year warranty life. So the batteries in the systems already last a 10-year minimum. They're likely to last 15 years. So unless the world opens up and has more requirement for these static storage systems, perhaps that's not the solution for car batteries at the end of the day, because they're very good pieces of kit, if you like, and they've got a longevity. However, when these batteries come out of cars, I'm led to believe there's still 80% of life left in them, and they could easily be transferred onto static storage systems. Anyway, that's a bit of science, and that's a little bit of how we're thinking about circular economy. But Colin, thanks very much for your event.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Well, no, we're glad. I mean, that's what we're here for, not just for the 2 days, but for hopefully companies staying here for a long time and growing. But no, I think the thanks goes to yourself and all the other companies, and what you did was fantastic, because that just showed you that your demonstrator actually powered up the stage and the lighting and that, which was excellent. But yeah, the event can be the event with the companies that were there. I mean, there was some tremendous companies, yours included. So, and it just gives you massive hope for the future. Yeah. And again, what you're saying about battery second life use, there's a lot of good knowledge there. And I just, another thing I forgot to mention as well is just like what you said there, Jim. I think there's lots of companies that are helping each other company design second life use, and being able to reuse materials, whether it's taking a battery and using it as it is, but in a different application, or dismantling it. And I think there's quite a few companies in there that could help each other do that, as well as obviously the initial product. So yeah, exactly what you said. You saw a lot of ideas flying back and forwards.
Yeah. That actually brings back memory what Jim just said, because I remember when I was younger, I've lived in Bangladesh for a little bit, and what my dad did was he got a battery, or a big battery pack actually, because there's power outage all the time, and he actually converted it so that where we lived in my granddad's house, we actually powered the house with the car battery. So there is so many different things. I mean, he's in his 80s right now, so I wouldn't be able to get him and ask him to build something, but there is so many things that you could do with this battery. Is unbelievable.
He doesn't consult for us then.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know he would want to, but yeah, no, it's really, really interesting, because there's so many. It's people. I think it's just having a vision of what you can do, rather than just saying we're just going to recycle it and throw it away. It just needs somebody to take these things forward. But it's really, really good what things are happening. And I've not been to the event, but I've seen some videos and all the LinkedIn posts, and you're really right. And Dundee is one of the places where things are happening. I think there's right leadership in the city. I mean, I don't live in Dundee anymore, but still I'm nearby, and it's really good to see what things are happening. And kudos to you guys. It's taking on the challenge, really. I mean, we speak to a lot of businesses. It's what we do, sustainability as a business. And like Alison was asking, what is happening. We've spoken post or pre COP26, and also speaking to people right now. It's changed completely of how businesses see taking things forward. So it's regardless of what we had if 6 months ago when we started this business. We started business in 2018, and everyone said, "You're mad. Why are you talking about sustainability?" Right? And now, just within 6 months, we've had people chasing us, looking at ways to become carbon, not carbon neutral, but going towards a net zero's journey. It has created a lot of interest, and people realize, I think, from we don't speak to consumers, but from a business perspective, large, very big organizations, and through, down to like small companies, they're thinking about sustainability, and it's good to really see. And the jobs that are going to come out of it, it's a huge opportunity for everybody, I think. So I think there's something to be proud of that we've as business communities are thinking. So I'll just stop saying, otherwise I'll go carry on.
Thanks, Tanveer. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if it's done anything, it's just made us all much more aware and to the top of our minds, isn't it? I mean, we did an event on Friday lunchtime with the Scottish Business Network, who were in Dundee, but we went to James Hutton Institute to kind of hear about the Intelligent Growth Solutions vertical farms. It's our second visit there, and kind of the work that they are doing and the work that they did at COP to showcase vertical farming and all the possibilities. And it's probably no coincidence that they then were able to kind of announce the £45 million investment and showcase people like Nicola Sturgeon and seeing what they were doing. It's really quite inspiring, actually, and all credit to James Hutton Institute and them for getting that growth tower there. And if any of you haven't ever seen that before, they are super welcoming and quite keen to kind of go and let everybody see it. And you can actually go on their website and see a tour of it, a virtual tour. Jim, I happened to be, so Brian Frame from Rotomead was with us, and we started to talk about battery storage. And so I need to do an introduction to you because they were talking to a company from south of the border, should I say, about battery storage on a bit of land at the side of their factory. So, but that's all gone apparently a bit quiet. So I said, "Oh, I know a man." Well, two, really. You're a bit of a double act with game, aren't you? But so it's, but yeah. So yeah, lots of interesting things I think happening. Kirstine, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I guess I'm one of the people who's maybe experiencing a little bit of COP26 grief after the whole experience, and I'm probably one of these statistics that you referred to in your little quotation there, Alison, about females and being involved in circular economy and having impact and being able to change things. So I cycled to COP26, and I took part as an activist in the Global Day of Action to try to lend support with a sort of twofold manifesto, if you like. Firstly, I was there to champion the circular economy, something I'd been passionate about for, well over 20 years, probably 30. It's been a dream of mine to see significant changes occurring in this world for the better of the planet and people who live far away from here that don't experience the good fortunes that I have in life. So that was the first thing, was circular economy. And secondly, I cycled there to highlight the benefits of the sustainable form of transport in the bicycle, and looking at encouraging government to invest more in appropriate facilities to enable people of all ages and abilities to cycle in safe spaces. So looking at increasing that budget into cycling generally. So I can tell you that I've cycled over 6,000 miles myself this year, and I have driven 1,200. So I think that's a pretty good ratio. If I can get that down for next year, I absolutely will. But my legs are feeling a bit tired right now. So I guess when I went there, first of all, I want to applaud everyone in this group for all the fantastic work that they do. It's great. It lifts me back up again to hear there's so many people out there sharing the passions that I have for change in all of the different sectors of work. Well done, all of you. Keep going. It's brilliant. It's horrible feeling powerless and seeing people who can make really big changes not make changes? What can I do? I'm powerless. All I can do is go and shout as loud as I can and tell people the reasons why I think things have to be better. I listened to what Lorraine said about the furniture, and IKEA did donate many thousands of items of furniture, and IKEA have a pretty good record when it comes to sustainability in their manufacture. However, what's actually happened is that all this furniture has been shoved into a metal storage container, in fact, many hundreds of containers, because there is no plan in place to share this furniture amongst the needy people in this country who would really benefit from having it. So another great intention, but poorly delivered upon. Very frustrating when it's actually something that a company like mine could have managed for the government. There are people out there who can do this work. So it's really horrendous to think that there's people who could do with all this product, and it's locked away and probably will be locked away for quite some time in a storage box. So that's the first thing, just to give you an update on that furniture status. Secondly, what I really feel is that some disappointment around that circular economy bill. It appears to have been shelved. I did a lot of work last year contributing to consultations and putting in ideas and attending forums and workshops and trying to drive this forward. What's happening with that? This is something that can really make a change. So what I feel now, you may not all agree with me, but I want change. I would love for us to keep on driving to make what we do better and to be good examples and role models and to share practices and experiences. But I would also like for us to be able to reach further, to influence and persuade others who are not quite on the journey that we are all on yet. So it's how do we reach that? And maybe that's the next stage of what the ambassadors group is about, is looking at how we can help to encourage others to follow a similar journey to our own. So sorry, I don't want to sound a bit down about it, and I will cheer up about it. And everything you tell me, all of you, makes me feel so much better. So thank you, everyone.
Kirstine, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. I absolutely take my hat off to you for your hard work and kind of getting on your bike and actually getting over there and really doing what you did. I think that's hugely important. And Cheryl's got her hand up. I think if we can, it would be brilliant to influence those containers full of furniture and kind of do something, because actually if I know something with my day job hat on, it's that the world is short of storage containers at the moment, and there is storage containers are parked up all along the south coast of England, and that's causing huge global logistics problems for everybody's supply chain. So we certainly don't want to fill them with more unnecessary storage of items like that. So Cheryl, you've got your hand up. Do you want to come in?
It was just a small point really on the circular economy bill, because it is coming back. So Scottish Government have made a commitment this parliamentary term to bring it back. So all is not lost. So hopefully in the not too distant future we'll hear more about that. And then, if there's sometimes there's a pre-consultation, and we can kind of reach out via this group to get in some more feedback on that. And we do have a CE minister now in Scotland as well, which I think is probably a global first. So yeah, I could sympathise with the post-COP grief, but there's some glimmers of hope as well.
Yeah, no, I think, and actually I was going to say that about Lorna, because having somebody with circular economy as part of their portfolio, I think is a huge statement, isn't it, by Scottish Government? And if I'm allowed to be slightly cynical, I was a bit perturbed at a couple of comments I heard her say when I was listening into her on an event where she was talking about business as if they were the big baddie in all of this, that we, as in I include myself in this, were only interested in profit, and we didn't have a social conscious is not the words she used, I'm putting words in her mouth, but there was almost that I'm lucky, I think, perhaps, that I've got you guys that are the foil to maybe a big bad business, but the businesses that we engage with have not got profit at the very centre of everything they do, to the detriment of circular economy or sustainability or anything else. So I reckon we should put an invite out and get her in to talk to us, because we could then, you know, make sure that the narrative that she hears from us is a bit different than that. So yeah, that's really interesting. And Cheryl, maybe that's something we can explore with you guys, and we can, you know, put the invitation out as part of a joint event. But we'll do something about that. But thank you, Kirstine, and the others for sharing your story. Anybody else got any other thoughts or points about what you think you might do differently now, or just do more of as a result of COP26 being on our doorstep? John.
Hi there. Right, interesting conversation. Yes, all sorts of enthusiastic post-COP feelings going around, a bit of disappointment in some respects, a lot of good things done. The only thing I'd like to say is that, you know, it's really necessary, I think, for us to start to work at scale. So we've got to try and get connection across the regional dimension, the local authorities. I mean, there's Angus, Dundee, Perth and Ross, Fife. That's a general point about working more in partnership, better cross-sectoral working, better working between the third sector, the private sector and local government. You know, overcoming some of these cultural boundaries that, you know, the public sector doesn't work well with the private sector. I mean, I'm not sure that's true, but you know what I'm saying, that we've all got to work together no matter what sector we're in. And just to bring to your attention one thing that's happening within the Tay Cities deal, there is, you know, a £300 million fund there, with a number of funds, you know, projects being funded, including the Michelin Scottish Innovation Park, in part. The green projects there, what we're calling the clean growth projects, have joined together and commissioned a piece of work to allow us to map the synergies between projects. So just by, say, for example, my project talking to the James Hutton, or the James Hutton speaking to the Eden project at St Andrews, or the Mercury programme, identify synergies that we haven't spotted before for value added. It could be a project, it could be a joint investment, it could be a research project. That will give us a live mapping tool, so you can actually see the projects. You can go in and say, what's that connection about? Who's leading it? What's its intentions? And then to try and use that piece of software and concentrically move out in circles. So taking in other initiatives and other projects that are in the area to try and, you know, better integrate them as well, and then identify if there are synergies there. Because we're all doing a great deal individually. I just don't think we're as connected as we could be. And we've got to try and bring that at a local authority, regional level. And we've got to try and bring that through better communication between projects, because great things happen when you get innovators, and it tends to be innovators in the different projects that are there in the first place. When they get going, a lot of creative things happen. So I will try and keep this group posted on that. And at some point, we'll have a conversation about the projects in the Tay Cities deal moving out and doing work with some of the other projects that are elsewhere in the region, including circular economy projects. Thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, John. And our last word goes to Kevin.
Thank you for that, Alison. It's you asked what next, and I thought what I would do is contribute towards that by saying that there is an opportunity here for a PR campaign, a publication, maybe an adjunct to the website around the circular economy aspects, which I'd put under a heading for Dundee, or you can widen that to Tayside, climate zero journey through a circular economy. If that's the heading, and then the subheading being a climate action region. Not only would that raise awareness of all the good work going on, but it could also, through the case studies and the link, be a post-COP tonic. Because one thing's for sure, it's not going to be politicians that lead us out of this. It will be many of the people in this room and others to join us as we go on that journey together. Because it's just too big a problem, and there are too many hooks that are holding people back, whereas we're already off the starting blocks and trying to make that progress. Something like that would be a call to arms. It would also be an opportunity for us to shout about what's going on here, and that itself could be used as an investment drive. So I'm just placing it out there because I think that would be a really positive outcome, which would allow us to showcase the work going on, and also introduce many of you to a wider audience who might want to invest in the work you're doing.
I like it. That was a very good last word, Kevin. I think, you know, we've not had a chance really, unfortunately, to bring in a couple of other people that I might have just invited. And because I know that each of the local authorities is really increasing the resource that they're putting into sustainability and are keen to make sure that, you know, the climate action plans that each of the local authorities has is well connected into the community and to the business community and the work that we're all doing. So lots more connections to be made and lots more to talk about. And so just to get a bit of a thank you and a plea from me, I suppose, if you've got anything at all that we can share for you on the Circular Tayside website, any news stories, anything that you're doing, anything that you want to shout about, then please let us know. And Kevin, perhaps we can get a small group together that might want to participate together in that kind of regional journey and start talking about what we're doing and why it makes a difference. And I think we are small enough of a place to be demonstrating how connected we are and making the most of all of that. So thank you to everybody so much for your time and participating today. I hope that post-COP fatigue is not too bad. Yeah, please tell us all your stories so that we can shout about that for you and just let everybody else know all the brilliant things that you're up to. We will be in touch in the near future and see about getting another date in the diaries for sometime in the new year. But before then, hope to kind of catch up with you online or at least see you at some other events and things. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day.